Welcome to the TSG Multimedia podcast for June of 2018. We're sponsored in part by Podomatic, ExactRail, and TrainLife.com.
All right, so first things first. Congratulations to all the winners of the DVDs that were drawn on the first ever scheduled live webcast on May 20th. More about that later, but I want you to know that if you took the viewer survey and did not win, I still owe you a discount code. So if I haven't already done so, I'll be emailing out a discount code that you can use on the website, tsgmultimedia.com, to get a 20% discount on any order you place before June 30th. So look in your mailbox for that. On May 5th, I went to the Pleasanton Fairgrounds to tour the HO and O scale layouts of the Alameda County Central Railroad Society. This group has been at the Alameda County Fairgrounds for almost 60 years. Their O scale layout is fairly large, and the HO layout occupies about the same amount of space. They worked really hard getting both layouts ready for our recording session, and my friend Mike Garrigan was a key player in the process. A lot of the members were present, and everyone did a really good job running the trains. Seems like a really great group. These layout tours will most likely publish in July and August, respectively. Anyway, it was a really long day on my feet, and I was tired, but was I done yet? Of course not. It turned out that my buddy Ken Patterson was recording for What's Neat this week, and I was asked again to be a guest on the show, and I was so excited about it, I even dressed up for the occasion in my best Ken Patterson costume. We had a few laughs, but we also had some really good discussion. This was the second time I've been on KP's show, and I really enjoy it. I finished production on my first ever hardwired DCC and sound install video, and this time I was putting a Lokesound Select Micro into a Spectrum C40-8W. It took a long time, but it turned out pretty well. This is going to be an episode of John's Models in the future. I have also recorded the process for hardwiring a Select Direct Micro board replacement decoder into an Athearn SD70 N-scale model. Don't seem to have any shortage of John's Models episodes coming up, and I'm feeling a bit more confident with these DCC installations. One of these days I'll add some ditch lights to a model, but I'm just waiting for the right one to try that on. On May 9th, I went out chasing trains with some friends, and that also was a very long day, but I think it was worth it. You might remember Jamie West from my first ever ops session video. Well, he works for Renzenberger, and that's a company where he gets to drive a train crew around for the railroads. So he knows about some spots that are out of the way, and also he has the inside scoop about the yard jobs around Benicia. So when he suggested a few months ago to do an episode of Chasing Trains around Benicia, how could I say no? I'll talk a little bit more about that later. On May 11th, I met with Dave Adams to record some additional narration that was needed for the layout tour of Jim Vale's Glenwood and Black Creek Narrow Gauge Railroad. We took a break for lunch and went to something that's called the DCC lunch. This is where I got to meet some of the guys who have layouts that I've had on my short list of possible layout tours to do for the channel. And I have to say, it's really cool to put faces to the names and find out that these guys are just as cool in person as they are over email and on the phone. It's also really neat to hear the perspectives of so many people who know a lot more about this stuff than I do. I can see going to this informal gathering in the future to get some answers about questions that arise as I continue to expand my own experience with modeling. Just another example of really the value of getting out there and learning from other people. On the weekend of May 12th and 13th, I went with my fabulous production assistant out to Jamestown, California to film the operations at Railtown 1897 for a documentary that's currently under production. The idea was to get out there before the scenery dries up to get some video of the number 3 running around the lush green landscape before the summer hits and dries everything up, but unfortunately they had to take number 3 out of service, so we ended up filming a whole lot of diesel action instead. The weather was perfect and they pulled 4 cars on Sunday for a special Mother's Day train. I took a cab ride over the run out to where they reversed direction, and I have to say that little switcher has the cleanest cab I've ever been in. So while I was unable to get the shots of the number 3 that I originally went for, it was still a very productive trip. Just like the railroads, a production team needs to have a plan B as well as a plan A, and I'd say a plan C and a plan D as well. While I was running around Jamestown all weekend, I received an email about an op session at a huge garden layout in San Jose. My friend Murph introduced me to Ray Turner, whose layout I had only seen in pictures before. It's up in the hills on the eastern edge of San Jose, and what a layout. I mean, it's unlike any garden railroad I've seen. It's actually constructed for operations. Ray was nice enough to let me invite John Wiley to work as my train crewmate, and the session we ran in was a very interesting and fun session. Add to this the company and camaraderie of some great guys, and that's really hard to beat. Ray was a really excellent host, and I'm talking to him about producing a full tour of his layout in the future. On May 20th, I hosted the first ever scheduled live webcast with my friend John Wiley at the SBHRS. We talked about modeling, ops, some future events, and gave away a bunch of videos too. Congratulations to the winners, Owen, Andrew, Stuart, and the grand prize winner was James. That webcast was a lot of fun, and I can't wait for the next one. I think I want to do one every month and have a different guest on each time. That would be really cool.
You may recall I did a layout tour of Silicon Valley lines sometime last year. It's a really cool layout, and they have a unique approach to how they're building stuff. I took this New York Central consist out and had John Wiley along as my conductor for that run, and we took it from one of the yards to an intermediate yard along the way, about halfway around the layout. It's a pretty big layout. So after we were done with our New York Central job, John took out this steam engine and did some switching in the yard, and while he was doing that, there was a dedicated switcher in the area where he had to switch out his cars that I got to run, do a little switching maneuvers. It was pretty fun. Anyway, it was a good time though. I really like doing opposite this layout. The people there are super nice, and the layout's nice too.
The last event from this ridiculously busy May that I'm going to mention came on the 26th, so last weekend. It was a special field trip that was planned over the course of a few months. I met a guy, Scott Inman, who's a key member of the organization that rescued the RDC from Galveston, Texas, when he was visiting the SBHRS one Saturday, a few months ago. I knew who he was, and he knew who I was from YouTube, and we talked a little bit in person and then over email and also on the phone to arrange a time that I could go visit this RDC and hear about what they're doing with it. I have to say that this was a real highlight of the month. I went with Wiley and my social director, and we met our friends Marty and Liam there, and I can't say enough about what we experienced that day. Seeing this unique piece of really historic equipment and getting to see firsthand what they're doing with it, combined with getting to meet and talk to some of the crew members who ran the RDC when it was actually in service. Really cool experience, and we were treated to a special tour of the RDC. I recorded my friend Hunter Lose, who's also involved with this project, and this is for an upcoming video as well. Something I should mention is Hunter's actually working on a commercial DVD release that's going to document the definitive history of this really unique piece of railroad equipment, and it's going to include all kinds of vintage film footage, something really to look forward to. Back to the day's events though. Hunter, Scott, and a bunch of people from that organization were really gracious hosts, and they even had an amazing barbecue lunch that we got to share with them. While I was there, I did a brief live webcast that you may have seen to share one of these really cool parts of the day. It was when they revealed the SP10 logo on the side of the car. I'm really sorry I wasn't able to hang out with you that day, but it was bright outside and I couldn't see the phone. And to be honest, it would have been rude to sit there doing a broadcast with our hosts waiting. So I can't wait to see this. They're developing something called the Southern Pacific Railroad History Center, and it's going to be in Rockland, California. And they're doing something really important to document the history of the Southern Pacific Railroad. And I think all SP fans need to not only know about it, but to help make their plans come to fruition. There's going to be, like I said before, a more comprehensive video about this tour on this channel later in the summer. But right now I'm aiming for sometime around July 4th or maybe Labor Day or something like that. I'll keep you up to date as the project gets progressed on. And in the meantime, you can go to the website www.splives.org and get information on the Southern Pacific Railroad History Center. I just want to remind you there's a little bell icon next to the subscribe button below the video screen here. And if you hit that little bell, it will let you know if I ever go live unannounced. Also, I'd like to thank everybody for getting Channel 2 up to, I think we're around 860 subscribers now. So thank you very much for helping with that. And there's only about 140 more now to get to 1,000, which is really my goal here. Speaking of Channel 2, I released my second episode of Bay Area Day Trips, and I hope you'll take a look. It's about the Lick Observatory up on Mount Hamilton, which is out here in the east part of San Jose. I'm taking a quick little break from editing because I came across a part of the podcast that I think sort of deserves a preface. So I've prepared some notes here because I don't want to leave anything out, so bear with me. From some of the conversations I've had with viewers, it seems like I need to clear something up about how this channel works and what it takes to bring the content to you. First off, I love bringing the content to you, and I hope that shows. That's why I'm constantly seeking out relevant and unusual events and topics that you probably won't experience in other places. That's why I do what I do here. And now I want to talk about the how. I am not independently wealthy. I have never won the lottery, and I've never inherited a dime from deceased family members. So I'm taking a huge risk, okay? But I believe in what I'm doing here enough to take that risk. The funds are not infinite, however, and YouTube's ad revenue structure doesn't even come close to contributing enough to fund the channel. So because of this, I need to find other ways to continue doing it. So I'm developing a Patreon presence that will be announced later this year, probably within the next month or two. I'm also actively seeking corporate sponsors. So that's what is about to happen. The product spotlight feature you're about to see comes from one of these sponsors, and I urge you to take a look at what you see, and if you have any use for it, please look for the link to the product in the description of the podcast, and please support my sponsors. It would mean the world to me, and you'll be doing something to help me bring the content that you enjoy, and you'll also get an excellent high-quality product for your collection as well. So without further ado, let's take a look at the first ever product spotlight. This product spotlight features ExactRail's HO scale Pullman Standard 5344 boxcar. This spectacular model is part of ExactRail's Platinum series. It was designed, engineered, and tooled right here in the United States and has an amazing number of really great separately applied details, including wire grab irons, separately applied door tracks, and lots of freestanding brake detail on the underside. It comes with factory-installed, body-mounted KD number 58 couplers for superior operational performance. The narrow draft box has shank wedges and full nut and bolt detail. The cut levers are made from thin wire and are matched with separately applied air hoses. These cars run on 70-ton ride-control trucks with 33-inch metal wheels. The paint treatment on these models is razor sharp and includes prototypically accurate patch marks and overspray on the roof when appropriate. The most impressive part to me is that the models come straight out of the box like this. These models are available in 9 different paint schemes from exactrail.com or trainlife.com. Let's look at the viewer poll results from last month. The question was, do you like model railroading better or prototype rail fanning? And here's how it broke down. Model railroading got 33%, prototype rail fanning got 2%, and I like both got 60%, and other got 3%. So I'm not sure. Maybe could someone please comment and let me know what other meant to you this time around? I'm really curious about that because I understand one or the other in both, but I'm not sure. Anyway. I thought it wasn't going to be as busy in May, but it ended up being busier than April, and now I'm facing June with a calendar that's already full. Anyone want to bet that I'm going to be even busier in July? I've got $10 here, right? Anyway, so here's some of the stuff I'm doing in June. On June 3rd, so tomorrow, I'm going to be filming for this month's episode of Model Railroading with Jack Burgess, and we're also going to put some finishing touches on a video about an op session on his YV layout that we filmed for back in March. We're still in the process of developing that program, but it looks very promising. Either way, it's going to be great to hang out with Jack. I haven't seen him in a while, and we always have a lot of fun and a lot of laughs working on stuff together. So on June 13th, there's an op session on Ray Turner's Mystic Mountain garden layout that I told you about earlier. And I'm planning to go so that I can film some of the evening footage that I need to get for the layout tour. I guess Ray often has evening sessions because the railroad actually is lit for nighttime running. And there will most likely be a nice sunset and a lot of cool train action, so I'm looking forward to that as well. Hopefully the weather will cooperate. On June 16th, the Bay Area Prototype Modelers Meet takes place in Berkeley, as usual. And I'm not going to have a table this year, but I do plan to go so that I can check out all the awesome models. There's always a great variety of models. I'm going to see some old friends, meet some new ones, I'm sure. I'm hoping to catch up with some of the vendors as well and see what they're working on releasing. And if I find anything extra special, I'm sure I'll let you know about it. You can get information about this event at bayareaprototypemodelers.org. And they'll give you directions and stuff on how to get there and all that. Later that same week, I'm going to be traveling to Salt Lake City for the majority of the N-Scale Enthusiast Convention that's being held there. I'm going with some friends from the SBHRS. We're taking the California Zephyr, that's Amtrak Train 6, and then we're spending a few days in the area touring various layouts and open houses and stuff. And then returning that weekend just in time for YV Weekend. And YV Weekend is an event that Jack Burgess holds every year for his Yosemite Valley Railroad interest group. In the past, it's included hikes on former YV rights-of-way between Merced and Yosemite, private viewings of original YV equipment and documents and museums, that sort of thing. This year, the group is going to be working on the restoration of an actual piece of YV equipment that resides in Niles Canyon. And the plan is to document some of this restoration that's taking place and then present a tour of the observation car 330 for a future program here on the channel. Jack has a really great website with all kinds of historic, contemporary, and modeling information on the YV, and you can check it out at YosemiteValleyRR.com. So there's some events coming up this month that I'd like to make you aware of. Saturday, June 2nd, that's today, between 10 a.m. and 3 p.m., we have Katy Train Activities Day. This is a special activity day that's designed for children ages 6 and under. This is being held at Ardenwood Historic Farm at 34600 Ardenwood Boulevard in Fremont. So again, that's today. So if you have time, get out there. It'll be worth it, and it supports a really great organization and a good cause. There's an ongoing exhibit called Shake, Rattle, and Roll that's about modern-day graffiti being put on scale models. It's at the San Diego Model Railroad Museum, and it features artists from across the country It's running clear up through November 16th. So I want to thank Joe Espinoza for letting me know about this. You can get more information about this event at www.sdmrm.org. Kind of a side note here, I have to say I'm not really a big fan of vandalism on full-size train equipment. It really isn't a thing for me, but there are some really talented artists who decorate their models to make them look like prototypical modern equipment, including the elements of full-size vandalism that's a fact of life, unfortunately, on rail equipment. The difference, of course, is that these artists actually own the miniature canvases they're marking, so it's not really vandalism. That's the way graffiti should be done, as far as I'm concerned. On June 9th, between 12 and 4 p.m., Silicon Valley Lines is having their open house. It's at 148 East Virginia Street in downtown San Jose. Check out siliconvalleylines.com for more info. The Tri-City Society of Model Engineers is having their 7th annual open house on June 9th and 10th. They're in downtown historic Niles. On June 23rd and 24th, the San Leandro Historical Railway Society is having their open house. They're located in Thrasher Park in San Leandro. For more information, you can see their website, slhrs.org. Let's talk about some of the upcoming programs. June 9th, this month's layout tour, Jim Vale's Glenwood and Black Creek Narrow Gauge Railroad. This is one of the most densely detailed layouts I have ever seen. There are people and automobiles everywhere you look, and a lot more. Jim's well known for having written hundreds of articles for several model railroad magazines, most notably the Gazette. I have to make a special mention of his friend and mine, Dave Adams, who did a lot of arranging to make this layout tour happen. Of course, all the regular operators contributed to the process of making sure the layout was ready too, and also deserve thanks. But Dave was the organizer, and he even wrote the entire script for the narration. And we're really lucky he did, because this is a really special layout. It's a proto-Lance layout with mostly HON3 equipment and trackage, and hundreds of structures, hundreds of automobiles, and even more people. I could easily say a lot more about it, but I won't do that. All I will say is, don't miss it. On June 16th at 9 a.m. Pacific, the conclusion of the DCC and sound installation of my N-Scale SD24 by Atlas comes out. In part 1, I got the decoder and speaker installed, but it sounded like garbage. So I got a ton of comments and suggestions in the comment section of part 1, and I want to tell you how grateful I am to have so many helpful viewers. To be honest, I was a little surprised by how many advice comments were posted. In this month's episode, you're going to find out what I did to troubleshoot the issue and how I ultimately solved it. I have since installed 6 more decoders into N-scale locomotives with sound, 2 of which I will share on the channel in the future, and I found a way to do the installations using a small speaker with little or no modification to the metal frame. Ironically, the modification I've had to make to some of the frames was so that the decoder would fit in there and not the speaker. So, as for the speaker though, I'm using those tiny 10mm speakers for most of my sound installations. I think a cube speaker sounds a lot better, but it requires me to remove more of the frame than I want to. So every bit of weight removed reduces the model's pulling power, so I've been settling for a slightly weaker sound instead. I think it's a good trade-off though, and to be honest, I don't really think that a locomotive this small should be that loud anyway, and the sound I'm getting is clear and loud enough to hear. So anyway, it works for me right now, and I suppose if I find a good way to add bigger speakers with enclosures, I can always revisit the models I have, already finished and improve them. There's always that option as you get better at what you're doing. So anyway, on June 23rd, we have the return of Model Railroading with Jack Burgess that I mentioned just a minute ago. This month is about approaches of how to do research. And I can't wait to learn what Jack has to say about this, as he's probably one of, if not the most thorough modelers out there when it comes to researching a prototype. He didn't just research the Yosemite Valley Railroad, he wrote what's considered the definitive work on the subject, his book, Trains to Yosemite. I expect to learn a lot. And finally, June 30th is the 5th Saturday of the month. That means I can do whatever I want that day. How about this? I usually only get up this early for one thing. I'm chasing trains. This is what it's like in the Bay Area. Here's the first guest celebrity.
Flash tour, guys. I'm still trying to figure out if I'm a foamer.
More guest celebrities to pick up here.
Are you married?
Well, that's what I've been told.
What do you know about that? Who's this new guest celebrity?
Snakes are snakes are snakes.
Looks like a capital headed our way. Oh, there's a bear! Gonna get another train.
Don't see that every day.
It's special chocolate.
Gave me that November feeling.
Thank you.
We have a special cameo appearance. The Amtrak foreman. You know what you're doing right now?
Chasing a train.
That was a truck run by with a zipper passing over a double solid line. He knows, he's good. He knows too.
I don't know these things.
He doesn't want to go to jail alone. He knows, it's good.
I know nothing.
There was a rabbit over there.
It was fast.
That's what you call a Darwin Award winner right there.
Being generally irritating.
That's my job.
We're all pretty tired now.
So the reason it says June 2018 without a specific date attached is because if Channel 2 reaches 1,000 subscribers before June 30th, I'm going to release the Chasing Trains episode on the day after the 1,000 subscriber subscribes. If we don't get to 1,000 before June 30th, then Chasing Trains will come out that day. So there's a little incentive to go click that subscribe button on Channel 2. Hey, I got to try, right? Here's this month's poll. I want to know, is this channel headed in the right direction? And the answers are yes, no, and other. There's a caveat this time. If you pick no or other, I want to know what your thoughts are about how it could be even better in the comment section below the video. Okay, so don't pick no or other unless you're going to comment too. I always want to know what's on your mind because without you, the channel can't grow or get better. So keep that in mind as you're taking the poll this month. Anyway, I think that's just about everything I wanted to cover this month. I know, again, it was a lot. Next month is probably going to be a lot too. I really appreciate you watching through to the end, and I really appreciate your continued support. Thanks for sticking with me here and helping out with Channel 2. It's onward and upward, and I'll see you next time.